Today, Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine released their tax returns, and in it, they revealed quite a few interesting things about their sources of income, how much tax they're paying, their charitable contributions, and in doing so, they also put pressure on Donald Trump to hopefully do the same, release taxes, as every presidential candidate in recent decades has. And so let's go over some of the raw numbers. The Clintons, this is Hillary and Bill, made just over $10.5 million and paid an effective federal tax rate of 34.2% in 2015. About 6.7 million of that income came from paid speeches delivered by Bill or Hillary Clinton. 6.7 million, that is 2.5 hours of paid speaking. But anyway, 34.2%, or as Donald Trump would say, they're losers when it comes to taxes because they couldn't evade nearly well enough. And so, of course, that's interesting. They paid quite a bit of tax, but they also made a lot of money. And those more than $6 million that they got off of those speeches, some of that, I'm sure, was well-earned. They're good speakers. Everybody wants to see Secretary of State, former president. But it's also possible that $6.7 million came with some stringy strings attached, implicitly or explicitly.
So it's what I find interesting about it is how we've kind of gotten to a point where, you know, the wealth of our candidates doesn't really work against them. I feel like it used to be something that was frowned upon, right? Like where our candidates needed to relate to us, and so they would either hide the fact that they were wealthy or you know, they just wouldn't be wealthy. But now, of course, our politicians have to be wealthy. Otherwise, they don't really have a shot at politics. And so I think a lot of people will look at this, and look, I give her credit for releasing it. You know, people are going to scrutinize her for it. They're going to pick it apart. But at the same time, you look at that, and if you're in the middle class or the working class and you're really struggling, it rubs you the wrong way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't agree with you totally because Barack Obama wasn't wealthy. You know, Michael Dukakis wasn't wealthy.
Barack Obama had much more money than the average American. He wasn't wealthy by the standards of other senators necessarily.
Can I clarify one thing, though? So when Obama was running against Mitt Romney, I think there was still a little bit of that thought process of we need to hide our wealth, which is why Mitt Romney went out of his way to make it seem like he could relate to the middle class and he was trying to, you know, downplay his wealth.
Sure, he went to
But I feel like in this election, that has completely disappeared.
He can.
You know?
Mitt Romney got a 3-pack of shirts from Costco.
Yes.
Mitt Romney had
like regular shirts.
He loved them. He loved them, and they go perfect with this handmade Italian every fucking thing else he owns.
It is amazing that in just 4 years how much that changed, though. That Mitt Romney had to pretend to not have a car elevator or whatever.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump, he goes the other way. He pretends to be a billionaire and gets away with it up until this point.
He gets applauded for it.
I think Hillary, because of course Hillary and Bill weren't wealthy either when they got to the White House. So I don't know. I imagine that Americans leaving out the paid speech part of Hillary's income, everyone knows that former presidents get wealthy.
They get wealthy.
And their spouses get wealthy too. And in her case, she's not just a spouse, she was Secretary of State, former senator. She was a coveted speaker on her own. So I don't know, this doesn't, I'm 100% unmoved by this. I also don't think the money, you know, because again, nobody gave them $6 million for a speech. I mean, they made $235,000 at a time, and less most of the time, I imagine. Probably just $100,000 at a time. It was barely worth it to give the speech for $100,000.
I hope she kept track of her hours.
Yeah, totally, yeah. You know, that speech
On
went
both hands.
75 minutes. That speech went only got $110,000. I feel like, you know what, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go.
Yeah. Okay, now one area that there's been a little bit of criticism, I saw this on multiple sites, including Fox News, is the charitable contributions. So combined, Bill and Hillary gave 9.8% of their adjusted gross income to charity, but of the $1,042,000 the Clintons gave to charity, as listed on their return, $1 million of that went to the Clinton Family Foundation.
Oh,
that's 96%.
Come on.
The other $42,000 went to Desert Classic Charities.
No. They gave
96% to the Clinton Global Foundation. Now look, devil's advocate, that isn't just one charity that does one thing. They do all sorts of shady and not shady stuff all over around the globe. Now, there are some articles saying that that's uncharitable. Still, it's $1 million, and most of it goes to charity. But it is, I think people would like to see more different charities being helped out by the fact that they get this free access to money for giving BS speeches a lot of time.
I don't know that they're BS speeches. I mean, they're BS speeches in that all these speeches are BS, and who on earth would pay $230,000?
That's what I mean. I don't mean
that's
that theirs are more BS,
Okay, right.
but they get paid way more than, like, $250,000 for an hour. You should be, the entire audience should be orgasming during the entirety of the speech.
Yeah, well,
for
then
$250,000.
the speech lasts 3 minutes. Then that's the problem. Then it's just not.
That's more money than Howie Mandel gets.
Exactly. And that man has made me, anyway.
But
Deal or no deal?
as for giving the money to the other charities, I mean, I suppose. I mean, here's what
You got to be happy if you're the Desert Classic charity, by the way. You're the only other one that got money this year.
As you say, the Clinton, no one knows what the Clinton Foundation does. I mean, many people do, but no pundits seem to.
I bet the Bilderbergs do.
Yeah, sure. No, but they all just think it's like mostly what it is. Of course, we should remember mostly what it is an actual foundation.
Yeah, that's true.
That does good in the world. That's their. That was now maybe that was they thought, hey, we'll do this foundation, we'll do good in the world, and then this will also enable us to funnel money to the to people with campaigns when you become Secretary of State, which we couldn't possibly have foreseen happening when they set up the Clinton Foundation. Just for the record,
That's true.
Because they thought she'd just be in the White House.
Look, regardless of what the Clinton Foundation does, every single little detail of what it does, one thing that I know for sure is the public's perception of the Clinton Foundation is not a positive one.
Yeah.
So if the vast majority of your charity went to the Clinton Foundation, this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good.
Yeah.
Look, I'm trying to be reasonable in my commentary and not come out angry or upset, but this made me angry and upset. I'm just going to be honest with you guys, so it's just frustrating because even if the amount doesn't mean much to some people, the amount of money that they bring in it just makes them so out of touch with the average American, right? So that's red flag number one. Red flag number two is where the charity goes to. I commend them for paying a decent amount in taxes, right? I mean, if this came out and they paid like 15% in taxes, well, then I'd be even more upset. But it's just, as more and more stories come out, you learn more and more about the Clintons, Hillary Clinton specifically, it just makes me look back at the primaries and get even more depressed, right? Because Bernie Sanders released his tax return. He released 1 year of his tax returns. You saw how much money he made, and
stamps.
it wasn't $10 million. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anyway, it is what it is.
So now
this is.
Let me ask you, can I ask you, were you more angry and frustrated when you learned about her giving it to the Clinton Foundation than you were when she sent out that email bragging that war criminal John Negroponte had endorsed her? Or was it less?
Or roughly the same.
I would argue that all of these stories make me equally upset.
Yeah.
All of the negative stories about her, because it just keeps reminding me of what kind of options we have on the table right now.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because I don't know what I'm supposed to do as someone who not only reports the news, but also analyzes it and shares my opinions and my, endorsements. It's really hard for me to endorse her. And I hate that the only thing I can say is I really don't want Trump to be the next president. So that's where I stand right now.
Yeah.
That's where I stand, and that's my honest opinion.
So some more numbers for you. After releasing this information, the Clinton campaign noted that the couple have now released all their tax returns dating to 1977. So even more pressure apparently put on Donald Trump as a result of that. I mean, that's a lot of information, obviously, going back there. We also have the information about Tim Kaine, if you're curious.
Just real quick on Clinton, just again, Anna, I disagree with you on almost everything, but I respect that, you've crystallized what your objection is effectively, and so we can disagree like normal civilized people would disagree about that. There's nothing nefarious here. It is what it is. They have a charity, they have a foundation which has done, I don't really know, but a lot of good in the world, right? And has enabled them to.
She helped children in 1972.
Right, she's enabled her to grease the wheels a little bit. That's how power works. That's how power has always worked in this country. They've released their taxes from 1977. There's not some hidden thing in there. She's a regular politician. She is not a monster. She is not out of whack with the kind of people who we've elected and sent to office for the last 100 years in this country. In fact, she's on the plus side of that, considering some of the terrible people who we've sent to office. Again, it wasn't what you wanted, but there's nothing monstrous or nefarious here.
So would you consider this as normal, more normal, or less normal than her reaching out to Henry Kissinger, a war criminal, for his endorsement?
Can
I would consider, well, let me say something about the reaching out to people, because, of course, yeah, I mean, it bothers me, and I wouldn't go around bragging about Henry Kissinger and John Negroponte, but in an election where the current Republican has opened up a giant window, how you feel about Henry Kissinger and John Negroponte is out of step with how America feels about Henry Kissinger, who is peculiarly sort of revered, and particularly revered by most of the other side of the electorate, most Republicans. So in an election when it appears that you can get 6, 8, 10, 14% of Republicans, and this is a one-on-one race still, basically, and that's how you win, I'd do it if I were her.
Okay, so
I roughly feel the same. I don't like it.
I don't like it
but
at
I
all.
understand why she's doing it.
here's why you don't do it. Because
Oh, there's lots of reasons to not do it.
there's a million reasons not to do it. One of them is now you're no better than people who are supporting Trump.
No, that's,
Because
well,
now
that's
there's
just, that's so
no,
wrong.
no. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying you're no better. What I'm saying is now you can't
Hold on. Can we rewind?
rewrite that. What I just said, I'm not saying.
Right, okay, I got you, right.
He's
Well, then
being
you are,
sarcastic.
then you are being like Trump.
He's being sarcastic.
Thank you. No,
Okay.
what I'm saying, what has been said, which I just heard said by someone even smarter than me, think about that, is that
Smarter than I.
Oh, Ben, how many RBI have you gotten? No, is that now people are talking about there might be some accountability for the people who get, because now Republicans are starting to make a moral stand. They're breaking with their party and siding with common decency, right?
Right.
And so there won't be any come to Jesus moment afterwards, because if she's in bed with Negroponte and she touts their friendship with Henry Kissinger, anybody could say, well, I was just supporting Trump. He hasn't had any war crimes on his record yet. So there won't be any accountability. That Chris Hayes said that, so he's has
Smart
glasses.
guy.
He's glasses.
Apparently well paid. Yeah, I would say I understand the pragmatic argument of trying to get the traditionally Republican donors or supporters or whatever. You want to peel off as many Republicans as necessary. To me, at least right now, it seems like she's doing well enough that there are some steps you don't need to take. I think if it
probably
was a
true.
much closer race, maybe you'd be willing to piss off a ton of your supporters. I would say right now she probably doesn't need to do it. But really fast. Oh, okay, you can talk.
You're going to
Tim Kaine and Trump, yeah.
first. But no, so this is the bottom line. There's all this nuance involved, right? And all of it's legitimate and valid. We could talk about it and we go, oh, what did we see in her taxes? This. But the headline this morning, and you'll see in multiple places, Hillary Clinton and Bill released their taxes, which puts pressure on Trump to release his. That is the only
That's right.
story.
That's
That's,
true. That's
all
the most
that matters to the general normal
11/20.
electorate and general public that's going to vote. They can go, yeah, what the hell? Donald, where's your taxes? We want the details. And when we flipped through it very, very casually this morning in the meeting, I was like, damn. Oh, I wonder what that. And just that's just like a glance at it.
Yeah.
But no one does that. There's no time. You just look up and go, yeah, she released hers. That's what she's supposed to. Every presidential candidate has always done it. It killed Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
Why hasn't Trump done it?
Yeah,
And that's
but
the end of the story.
To be fair, Trump has never been one to demand that people release documentation.
Let's yeah, right.
let's be
Just
fair.
very
Let's
quick
be fair.
to Anna's point about, because the optics, the Clintons, who are praised for this savvy, brilliant politician, same guy who thought I'm going to hold up Loretta Lynch's plane and with a zillion cameras there, and with everyone following the campaign and do this, and and who ripped and who brought race into the South Carolina primary in 2008 against Barack Obama. I mean, he has shown a staggering political in-depthness, right? And so the Clintons, and this nonsense story Hillary has about giving the speeches to Wall Street that she wasn't sure she was going to run. Yes, you were. Of course you were sure. And even if you might have, the notion that they don't and so they knew they were going to release their taxes. So, I don't know, give $500,000 to other things. I don't think I don't think it's going to capture America's imagination in the way you do, but I recognize that it might. I'm wrong all the time. And I just would have thought about the optics ahead of time and given to some different charities.
Can I be honest about something? Because I don't know if this makes me a bad person, but the charity component of this actually doesn't enrage me as much as the amount of money they made. Right? I'm just going to be honest with you guys. And maybe it's because this story happened to be released on the day when I'm extremely frustrated by certain pay situations that I'm currently dealing with. And so you see that $10.5 million amount for 1 year.
Yeah.
And it's like, how is this person supposed to represent me and my needs and my concerns, right?
Well, then
and
I
by
have
the
something
way,
for you.
that's me as someone who's a professional who is earning a stable living, right? How do people who are not earning a stable living feel after they read that number?
They should give more speeches.
And even if they just see the headline, here's one thing that I know for sure. Americans care about how much money an individual is making. So in the very least, they see that $10.5 million.
Yes.
Maybe, but
Okay.
it's really worth mentioning that the president we praised the most was probably the richest guy to ever be president of the United States.
Garfield.
James Edwin Garfield. No way his middle name is Edwin. No way. FDR.
Yeah.
So, I
I
mean, you
assumed you
can
were.
be wildly rich and still JFK, wildly rich.
I
and
get
still-
it, but FDR was from a different time where, you know, corporate interests didn't play such a gigantic role in the decision making of our politicians.
Right, but
You can be 5'3" and still dunk.
Yes.
But there's a very few with spud webs.
That's
You know
true.
what I mean? So
Yes,
you
I
can
get that
be
reference.
that, and it's very rare. And what I'm saying, she's saying, and I think you'll agree with it, that it's a much more reasonable to expect someone who's somewhere in the same hemisphere as us financially would be able to
This is,
understand
but
our
Anna even
problems.
said it.
For
This
the
is
love of sweet
no,
baby
hang on.
Christ.
No, it's too good. This is too good. It's not that I'm saying the whole conversation, but like because what you're feeling is a feeling. It's a feeling.
It's not just a
visceral.
feeling, it's based on information. It's based on the fact that during the primary, she didn't even want to fight for $15 an hour for minimum wage. She
And
wanted to start the conversation at $12 an hour. You guys know how negotiating works. It's not like you ask for $12 an hour
they
and it
came
stops
around.
there.
It's 15. It's
yeah,
in the
yeah, she came
platform.
around. She came around after a tremendous amount of pressure. And of course, a lot of people, myself included, question her sincerity on all of that, right?
Questioning her
But-
sincerity is totally legit.
Okay,
Of course.
exactly. And look, here's the thing. Right now, the biggest the problem is not just Hillary Clinton. There's a broader issue at play, right? Anyone who is from a middle class income can't even dream of running for president, right? Because we have a system in place where you literally have to be a multi-millionaire to run. So the chances of you getting represented by someone who is like you, someone who's not tone deaf, someone who's not going to look out for corporate interests before your own is virtually impossible.
I disagree. Bernie Sanders damn near won. I mean, he damn near won. He got 40, whatever it was, 6% of the Democratic vote. He damn near won. And so, of course it can. And the Obamas weren't incredibly rich. And they came from a lower middle class background. And you know, and Mike, again, I keep referencing Mike Dukakis like he went on to be president. President Dukakis was a...
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course it can. Now, we obviously, I mean, if, you know, a broader question of money in politics is a totally valid one. And obviously being rich helps. But the notion that rich people won't surround themselves with smart people if that's what they've shown throughout their career, and I'm not saying she always has, but that they then can't administer a government that's fair. I mean, all over the world, rich people administer governments that are fair, and rich people administer governments that aren't fair.
Can you be part of independent media without being a member of the Young Turks?
Hell no, you can't!
Join right now. Be the independent media. Be the Young Turks. TYTnetwork.com/join.